Operation Restore Ligas was an intervention in ZANU-PF where political temperatures which were approaching a boiling point. It was that intervention that facilitated the resignation of late former President Mugabe. Hence, it was not a coup, in my view, but donozo. It was just to cool the temperatures. But that is subject for another day. It is now the same poor succession management that is threatening to engulf the nation. We would not want to think that it is the president who wants to cling to the throne, as was the case with Comrade Mugabe. For he made it abundantly clear that he was a constitutionalist who would respect the term limits set in the Constitution. In our view, it is the party that is taking the people for a ride. They passed a resolution that is ultra-virus to the Constitution without identifying any constitutional problem. That's where our challenge, some of us find ourselves. Because then, if they had found a loophole in the Constitution or a problem in the Constitution itself, they were supposed to amend it, rather than just coming from the other way around. That attitude by ruling party was already being demonstrated on 2 amendments already effected on the current Constitution. It would be unfair to just heap blame on ZANU-PF without making reference to the legislators themselves. Our legislatures are obliged to uphold the Constitution, including making sure that it is clearly understood by the people. The need and importance to publicize the Constitution was realized at outset, and Section 7 charged the state with the responsibility of promoting public awareness of the Constitution. Of importance was the requirement to translate it into all officially recognized languages and disseminating it as widely as possible, and that be taught in schools as part of the curricula for training of members of the security services, the civil service, and members and employees of public institutions. That has not taken place. As we speak, the majority of, including myself, I have no clear understanding of the Constitution. These are the things that our honorable members should be insisting on before any amendment was contemplated. Now people are asked to consider amending a constitution they have very little understanding of. Of course, people accepted the Constitution through a referendum, but its detailed understanding would only be possible through further reading and adequate publicity. Amending it before it is understood facilitates its manipulation by those in the know, in that taking people of Zimbabwe for a ride. Let's look at the amendment of the Constitution. Amending a constitution must not be trivialized as we seem to be doing. Amending the Lancaster House Constitution, for instance, within a year of the effective date was necessary because sections or part amended were an impediment to national development, both socially and economically. The first amendment was effected by Act number 27 of 81 for black advancement. That was the whole purpose of hurriedly putting in place, or affirmative action. The original Lancaster House provisions required appointees to the Senate Legal Committee and the Judicial Service Commission to be lawyers of not less than 7 years' experience. The new government immediately realized that few blacks had requisite number of years of experience to qualify for appointment, and yet it was imperative in the new political dispensation for blacks to be appointed to key institutions. That's justifiable enough. The second amendment was effected by Act number 25 of 81 for is the establishment of the Supreme Court. Although was no change of substance, the motivation for amendment was not only to create a new look court, it was also consistent with the practice of other countries. Now, let's compare this with the first two amendments to the 2013 Constitution. One was on the youth quota in Parliament. Here there was no substance, but just to bolster legislative, Section 20 of the Constitution by ensuring that youth are represented at the legislative level. But a closer examination, ladies and gentlemen, will reveal that Section 2020 adequately covered most of the youth requirements. By haphazardly amending the Constitution, legislators facilitated the creation of a dynasty by the executive. The president influenced the president influenced the election of his politically unknown son to Parliament through a youth quota, and subsequently appointed him deputy minister. While everything seemed to be above board and legitimate, that act alone violated the provisions of Section 18 of the Constitution. Having 3 members from same family in the executive arm of government is definitely not fair. Regional representation as envisioned by the Constitution. Then we had the removal of running presidential mates. We are talking of the vice president. This